Inside the Birds is back. What's going on, everybody? It's Geoff Mosher, Adam Caplan here with another Inside the Birds, presented, of course, by our friends at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. It's the exclusive Jersey Shore resort of Inside the Birds. In this episode, we've done it for years now. We're going to keep doing it. It's our annual off-season roster review. We are now a few weeks removed from the season, almost a week past the Super Bowl. We're going to take a look at the Eagles roster in a two-part podcast series here. We'll start with offense in this podcast, and of course, on Monday, we'll have our defensive wrap-up. So we do what we always do. We look at the state of the positions. We'll go through each position group. We'll talk about guys under contract, where they're headed, what's going on, and then maybe we'll say what the Eagles need to do at these spots to make themselves complete. So we'll get into that. A couple of news and notes also to get into with a signing that they have made this week. A lot of stuff to talk about there. And speaking of news and notes, just want to thank everybody who showed up for our Ask ITB live stream Wednesday night. Had a bunch of people, and we dropped some good notes. We dropped some good nuggets, and they were very appreciative of it. So you get good stuff from us, and we get great interaction from them, right, Adam? And it becomes this great, give and take, but certainly like to drop as many nuggets, extra ones as we can for our members.
In fact, we put the Reddick stuff out 2 weeks ago before the media kind of knew where this was going to be headed. And we put out 2 or 3 things last night or on Wednesday night, which are pretty significant or potentially significant. We'll see what happens, but we get you ahead, and you can only get it at Patreon, patreon.com/InsideTheBirds to subscribe. Welcome another new member, Ben. I think he was in there. Maybe I'm wrong.
He was on there.
Okay. So it's good to see them, and it's pretty cool, the interaction. We're getting to know everybody, and we're getting new people coming in. And I think you were saying this before. There's very few people from Philly. Kevin's, I think, maybe the only one, particularly from Philly, shows up every week. It's woman who's from Utah. Is it Utah, right?
Judy.
Yeah, Judy. I mean, it's great. Everyone's from every part of the country, and it's pretty cool.
It is. It's awesome. Now, our next Ask ITB live stream for Patreon members will be one of the ones we look forward to every year, because it's going to be from Indianapolis at the NFL Scouting Combine. So you and I will huddle up and have some good stuff there. We always get good stuff, good content, good nuggets, good notes at the Combine. So we'll be there for that, and we'll be able to do it.
And that'll be on the 28th of this month. That'll close out the month, 2 Wednesdays. It's actually now less than 2 weeks. So there you go.
Yeah, and pretty soon we'll have a podcast with a former NFL defensive coordinator, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it is correct. We'll announce that as soon as he gives us the date, and that'll be just for Patreon.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to break down the Fangio, the real Fangio defense, not the fake one. No, I'm just kidding. The real one. And then we're working on getting someone who's worked with Kellen Moore before, but the guy doesn't really do media, and he might be going back into coaching. So we're sort of turning the screws a little bit. We may have to pay the guy to come on. I'm just kidding. The guy won't take money. He said, absolutely not. He goes, look, I might be working soon. So he goes, if not, I'll come on your show. I said, awesome, dude. Very cool.
Yeah, that would be great. It's funny that you said the real one, not the fake one, Fangio defense, because I was actually thinking the other day about a good nickname for the Eagles defense last year. You know how, like, when celebrities get together, they come up with a name, like when Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez, they called it like Benifer.
Yeah.
I was thinking you could call last year's defense, you could call it Fanachek or Belgio. Because I'm not sure which one it was, but it was a marriage of both. It wasn't very good. Like most celebrity relationships go, that one did too.
Yeah. Well, what would you call the Patricia offense in 22 with the Patriots? I don't know what you call it.
What would I call it? Patricia awful.
Brutal?
That's good. So that would be
terrible.
Patraniels?
Yeah, right.
It was Josh McDaniels and Matt Patricia, right?
What a shock. Just like he did in Philly, he tried to change the McDaniels offense to his own. He actually changed some of the terminology, I was told. So it's just, this is what a boy. Don't get me started with Matt Patricia. Good luck to him.
Good luck.
Whatever.
No more Fanachek defense for the Philadelphia Eagles.
No, we got the real thing here at defense, man. None of this fake stuff. Anyway.
That's right. All right, so let's talk about this transaction that the Eagles made. It's generated some buzz, I think, because of the position, but and there were the money maybe, but it's not. I don't I don't see I don't see the cause and effect that some people have. The Eagles signed this week Julian Okwara. He's a fourth year outside line. Actually, he'll be going into his fifth year, I believe.
Correct. Yep. Yep.
Fifth year outside linebacker. He was a third round pick of the Lions. He went to Notre Dame. And there was some confusion on why the Eagles could sign him before the league period. So let's clear that up right now. Any player who right now is a street free agent, meaning their contract has already been terminated
Correct.
by by a team, is available to be signed. I feel like the Eagles signed somebody at this time last year that had name value. I just don't remember who it was. But yeah, so you don't have to wait for the new league year to start.
Correct.
The new league year is when contracts expire. But for Julian Okwara, his contract had already expired the day the
Got
Lions
cut.
yeah, cut him, which happened, by the way, in January. He was playing for them, and he obviously hadn't lived up to expectations. But the Lions had a ton of outside linebacker injuries, so they kind of had to play him in 9 games. But then once they got healthy, right around the playoffs, they had Aiden Hutchinson, they had Charles Harris, they had another good outside rusher who I'm not thinking of right now. Once they got healthy there, they said goodbye to Okwara, and he was then a street free agent. What do you
Right.
know about
So
him? Go ahead.
yeah. So once his contract was cut, they were able to sign him. So you're 100% correct. He's here's the thing. A couple things here. He also has been hurt a lot. He had 3 different stints on IR, which is not good. He's real long. His brother's Romeo, if you really follow the Okwara brothers. Romeo's a little better football player. Julian had not done much. He's a height, weight, speed guy, long, but too many injuries. At best, look, here's what your hope is. Once they get into OTAs, the hope is that they bring him to training camp. If he doesn't look good, they'll cut him. Simple as that. There's no harm, no foul here. It's just you take a shot. You're looking for depth. You're looking at best. He's a fourth outside linebacker,
Right.
who could press. He may or may not be active on game day, but it's about traits. That's all there's really nothing else here. The guy never made it. He was a big disappointment. Good college player, by the way. At Notre Dame, as you said, but he's got length, and this is what you're looking for.
He in his second year, he looked like he might be developing into something. He played 13 games. He had an interception. He had 5 sacks. He had 9 quarterback hits. But by year 3, and again, he has not, I don't think, stayed healthy as well. But year 3, he only played in 10 games, 2 sacks, 3 hits, 3 tackles for a loss. See, the production just wasn't there, and they were getting better at outside rusher. And so I bring up those stats to say exactly what Adam just said, is that he was a traits guy coming out of college, I believe. He was, height, weight, speed. I know he's got decent length there, and he plays a position that over the last 3 years has become a position of priority. He's a pass rusher for the Eagles, but specifically an edge Sam outside linebacker type. So they're always going to do their diligence on that. But I feel like people have tried to connect dots between the Hassan Reddick situation and oh my gosh, they need a guy here to platoon with Nolan Smith. No, this has not. If Hassan Reddick was signed to a 30-year deal, I still think that they would have gone after Julian Okwara because he's a guy on the market. They probably at one point, who he might have been on their draft board. Who knows?
Well, I'd like to know. Well, he was on their board. No, but I'd like to know. That's a good point. I'd love to know what their grade was. We're looking to see what their grade was for that 2020 draft. But the guarantee on this contract small. Like for instance. And we'll get into this a little bit later, but they gave a bunch of $25,000 signing bonuses to some of these reserve future guys because the other teams are sort of involved, so that's how they got them. But again, it's just you're just taking a shot here. You bring him to OTAs, you see if he looks okay, and if he does, he'll go to training camp and he'll have a shot. I mean, and we'll talk about defense on Monday, but it's a depth situation. You're always looking for developmental guys. What happened was, though, we were told with the Lions, they had to bring a couple guys off IR for the playoffs, and they were looking at guys who were like on the bottom of the roster. What they could have cut Charles Harris, who got benched. He basically wound up not playing this. He was just a weekly inactive, who revived his career. The former first-round pick of the Dolphins, who revived his career with Atlanta, and he did a good job with Detroit. But this past season, he got benched. but they decided to keep him and cut Okwara. Oh well.
Right. Now, the player I think that I was thinking of that the Eagles signed, similar background, had played in the NFL, had some experience, was Tyree Cleveland. They signed him to the practice squad last year. I don't think they signed him because they intended to play him. They were still battling for the Super Bowl.
Oh,
I
he
just
got
think they
hurt.
wanted him in their system. They had a chance. You know, he was a guy who'd played for the Broncos, I think.
Correct. Yep. He
Yeah.
was actually, was he not drafted like 7th round or something?
Yeah, he was a draft pick, you know.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So we'll see. He'll go to, like you just said, he'll go to OTAs. Who was the guy who went to OTAs and didn't even make it out of OTAs? That shocked us. Was it Davion Taylor? No, there was somebody
In
who
terms of guy they signed as a street free agent.
now I can't remember. I thought it was, but it might have been
I don't
somebody
know.
else. They signed they cut somebody. Yeah.
Wait. Was Eric Wilson made it to training camp, didn't he?
Eric,
The linebacker?
no, he didn't. He was cut like in midway through his first year with the Eagles.
Okay. There was
Not Anthony Harris. Was it
Oh,
Anthony Harris?
the guy came from Denver, the linebacker.
No, I know who you're talking about too, but that I'm talking about like last year. Though.
Oh,
They
okay.
brought, yeah, it wasn't Jatavius Murray or Corey Nelson or anything like that. I thought last year they
Corey
had a guy
Nelson was-
who
yeah.
who shocked us by not making it to training camp. So it might have been Davion, who was not a street free agent signing, but still surprising that they cut him out of camp. All right.
I'm looking. Okay. This guy I thought had at least could come to training camp. Marquise Blair, remember the former safety from Seattle?
Yeah, that's a good one.
And I was excited because of the boy, he was a stud.
Yeah.
They thought he was going to be a stud, but he just had so many injuries. Yeah, that good call. That was the guy. I'm pretty certain who you were thinking of.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, had high hopes for him in terms of at least pushing to be the fourth safety. He never made it. In fact, he was not in training camp. Pretty certain of it.
Right. All
Oh
right.
well.
So the point here is that please don't connect any dots to the signing of Julian Okwara and the situation surrounding Hassan Reddick. It is not one first. There's no causation there. It just it is what it is. It's the Eagles making a signing.
By the way,
Yeah.
Greedy Williams, after the Eagles cut him, never signed anywhere. I'm fairly certain of this. Tell me if I'm wrong.
I'm almost 100% sure you're right.
I cannot believe I did he get. I know he had a lot of injuries with Cleveland. My goodness gracious! Wow. Oof.
Yeah. Yeah, that was somewhat of a surprise. Wait, yeah, Greedy got cut. Greedy got cut, I think, early though in training camp, right?
He
Was
did.
among the yeah.
Struggled, and look, the Eagles obviously missed on wasn't a lot of money, but at least they didn't belabor the thing and keep him just because they thought he would contribute. They saw he couldn't cut him, and nobody else wanted him. That's not a good sign.
No, now we'll get into it, move on a second, but people like funny stories. I remember saying that we were told like after 3 or 4 days of training camp that, among the early good practices was Greedy Williams. But it was actually the other LSU. I think it was phrased to me the LSU corner, and I automatically thought Greedy Williams, but it was Mekhi Garner.
Mekhi Garner, yeah.
So fun times. Next time someone says to me like, Georgia defensive player or LSU, I'm gonna have to make sure I get the correct name on that.
Which one are you talking about?
Yeah. What's the license plate number on that? All right. All right. Let's take a pause real quick and hear a word from our friends at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
All right, we're going to take a well-rounded look here at the offense of the Eagles, a position or a group, Adam, that we've said is still very, very talented and has a chance to be, if things go well, back among the best, if not the best in the NFL. But things have to go well. But they do have some positions that there are some question marks, some depth areas that we're going to get through. The first position we'll start with is quarterback. It's a little bit easy, but I'm going to throw a little curveball in here in a second.
Ooh, okay.
All we're going to do is talk about the players who are under contract because that'll help illustrate the depth at certain positions. So under contract are just two guys, Adam.
Yeah, so Hurts and Tanner McKee. Tanner McKee is not ready to be the two. He was actually better in the preseason games than he was in training camp. And preseason, you were like, wow, okay, he could spin it. Big guy, not doesn't move very well, but he could spin it. So yeah, we're gonna take a deep dive to free agency later for the end of the month. We'll start looking at by position. But man, they definitely need a backup. Now, Marcus Mariota's up. We talked about that already in a previous show, but it's really about Hurts and McKee. But I would be interested to see if McKee could be the long-term backup for Hurts. Because he did so well in preseason, they decided not to risk putting him through waivers. They were not going to lose him because they knew, as I remember we talked about this, their concern was he'd be claimed. Because the other teams don't get access to the Eagles practice tape, but they sure as hell get the access to preseason tape.
Mm-hmm.
And the tape was like, whoa. So they smartly did not cut him.
So the challenge I would think here is if the Eagles want to sign a veteran backup, which you would think they'd want to do, and it could be Marcus Mariota again, right?
Yeah.
You have to wonder how much guaranteed money this time around they want to give their veteran backup, because I would think, and I don't know, we got more, but if they really liked what they saw from Tanner McKee, and this is year 2, maybe they want to give McKee a chance to battle that veteran for the number 2 spot. I don't know. They value having a veteran, but Adam, wait, just hear me out. As skeevy as that sounds, remember this.
No, it's not skeevy.
Well, I mean, for the Eagles, it's like weird. You want to have a second-year quarterback who's never played as your backup, and you say you value quarterback. But
8 years we've done the show. You said skeevy. It's the first time you use it.
Well, I saw you kind of shrivel when I said that because it does sound weird. But think about it. With the new practice squad rules, you can have a veteran quarterback on your practice squad.
Sure.
So it doesn't really make it, to me, it lessens the need to have a veteran backup quarterback making 30 to 40% of that contract guaranteed if you have a young guy that you like, and then you can put a veteran on the practice squad.
Problem is, though, you have to wait until September to do that. You can't, the guy's got to be here the offseason. Like you got to be careful with that, because you can't, practice squads don't get done until the fall.
Right.
So you can't, it's not like you can say, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to carry the entire offseason, but we're going to tell you right now, we're going to cut you and then put you on the practice squad like that. Look, if you get to now, if you don't tell the agent or player that, and behind the scenes you're thinking that, and then you spring it on them, hey, listen, we would like this McKee. We're not going to cut him. We like your player, but we're not going to pay him $5 million. Only $1 million is guaranteed. We'll eat the money if you don't want to bring him back. If you don't want to bring your player back, we'd like to put him on the practice squad. So that's a conversation. I hear you on that. It's interesting way to look at it, but that's just not realistic, because you don't go into March saying, okay, well, we're gonna bring the guy in, but we're gonna want to put him on the practice squad. I would have a hard time as a veteran accepting that. To be honest with you,
that's fair. That's fair. But you may have to eat the money if you love Tanner McKee then. But we'll see.
Well, you're not going to cut him now. No, I say now. Okay, hang on. Let's move this forward. What if McKee has a bad training camp? What if he doesn't look in the preseason?
Right. No, this is why you need the veteran. I totally understand.
Yeah.
I'm just
honestly,
I'm just wondering about the guaranteed money part, and if they're a little less reluctant. Like Mariota last year was a $5 million contract.
Fully guaranteed. Yeah.
It was fully guaranteed. I wonder if there'd be, let's say they get Mariota back. We want you again. You're in our system. You know it. Let's say they get him back. Do you maybe go try to get him the least amount of guaranteed money as possible so that you can keep him, but that you're not bidding against yourself?
Well, you see, here's the thing. And they have an excellent relationship with the agency that reps him. That agency is now called Excel. They were Rep One.
Yeah.
They've merged with Excel, who has a lot of those NBA players, but it depends on the leverage. And that's something that they'll have to figure out, how many teams are in on him. Remember, we noted this recently, that the Eagles actually were going to sign originally Andy Dalton. That was their target. And Andy just decided to stay closer to home. That was the only reason. Apparently he really liked everything, we heard about Philly, but nevertheless, Mariota, we know how much he struggled in training camp. We saw with our own eyes. It was a struggle bus. Ooh, it was bad.
Yeah.
But thankfully, Hurts did not miss any games, correct?
That's correct. By the way, you have to wonder, and we'll get into free agency later, but just to carry this conversation, you got a new offensive coordinator. There are other quarterbacks who are more familiar with this offensive coordinator scheme who could be out there, like you just mentioned, Andy Dalton. played for Kellen Moore in Dallas. I don't know what the status of Easton Stick is, if he's going to be a free agent or not. I don't know, but he did.
Oh yeah.
He may not be with the
You know,
Chargers much longer. So
Easton Stick, he's up. He is up. His contract expired.
well,
Or is
go figure. How about that?
Yeah, and remember he had to start because Herbert got hurt.
Right.
A good one. I didn't even think of that one.
Yeah.
Now, Andy Dalton is still under contract, and he's very cost effective. In fact, he's actually making less than $5 million this season. Now he's got incentives in case if he has to wind up playing. So yeah, forget about that one. But that's a good call, Easton Stick. And by the way, he's pretty mobile.
Yeah.
Good call.
And young. Good. All right, so I'll throw this quick curveball in. There's going to be early word right now. It could change, but it's looking pretty strong. There will probably be there might be 6 or 7 quarterbacks taken in the top 50 to 55 of the NFL draft. Everybody knows about the top 3, right? Yep. And then you throw the McCarthy kid in there from Michigan, 4. You throw Penix in there. You throw Nix in there, 6. And Spencer Rattler, from what we heard, the Senior Bowl.
He ain't going the second round. He ain't going. Yeah, he ain't going the second round. Now, my guy from Michael Pratt from Tulane will go in the second round. Now your guy Rattler, 3rd round. Yes, he had a good Senior Bowl week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in the first 3 rounds for sure.
Right.
That's pretty much it.
Is it possible? Because we didn't see it coming in 2020.
All right.
But now that Jalen's making a lot of money, and he had 1 year where it dropped off a little bit, but the Eagles tell you they obsess over the quarterback.
Don't even go there. Don't even go there.
Do you use a 2nd or 3rd round pick on someone I just named?
Oh man, what if they took one? I mean, the X will blow. What's it called now? X. You think it would blow up? Oh my god, I hadn't even thought of that. We can't rule it out.
Thank you. That's all I'm saying is you can't
ever rule anything out with Howie.
That's all I'm saying.
We know the owner was involved in the Hurts pick, but I don't know. I hadn't thought about that. I guess you can't rule it out. I mean, the only thing you can absolutely rule out in the first 4 rounds, they're not taking a kicker or a punter. That's the only, and a long snapper and a center. I think
that's right.
I mean, who knows?
There you go. All right, so that's the quarterback situation. It's an interesting one to me because when you just look at who's under contract, you're talking about 2 guys who are polar opposites in how they play the game. So from what we've seen of Tanner McKee, I mean, we know he doesn't have he has very little, if any, mobility. That's a fact, right? Mm-hmm. So he plays the game a lot differently than Jalen Hurts, and those are the 2 guys under contract right now. Let's talk about running back because I find this conversation fascinating compared to the last few years. There's only 2 guys under contract. Boston Scott's not one of them.
No. Well, he did make $2 million. He's always a safety valve,
Yeah.
But it's obviously Kenny Gainwell. We talked about this last show. Now the kid Lou Nichols was on their practice squad, and then they cut him. They brought him back. He's on a reserve/future contract. Nichols is it, and he's from Central Michigan. He was actually 7th round of the Packers last season. He spent actually a majority of last season on the Eagles practice squad after he was waived by the Packers and was not claimed. So hey, he was drafted. Packers drafted him. They draft pretty well, by the way. My God, what a draft! Their last 2 drafts with offense have been absolutely phenomenal. Brian Gutekunst, their GM's done a phenomenal job.
Yeah, what a shock! The Packers had good drafts. I mean, it's like Ravens, Steelers, Packers. I mean, it's just like death taxes and that. Lou Nichols, I laugh every time because I swear you got to have an uncle in your family named Lou Nichols. You have to, right? Come on. Lou Nichols. I mean, it just sounds like
I know it is kind of cool. Yeah, it is kind of cool. By the way, he is 220 to 225.
Big dude.
Yeah. So, and that's we're not saying he's going to be in the roster, but man, they could use a back with size. We'll talk more about that when we do when we go over the free agents in another show. But yeah, so that's it. So they obviously have to add a minimum. They're going to have to add 3 guys. As a matter of fact, you have to go to training camp with 5 players at the position, pretty much. 4 is really asking for trouble because of the heat and preseason. Because you're going to keep your starter most likely out of preseason. You need at least 3 for the preseason games. And with hamstring and groin strains and stuff, you pretty much should go to training camp with 5.
I kind of wonder if the Boston Scott era is sort of quietly over. Like, it's not like there's going to be an announcement that he doesn't come back. So if he doesn't come back, it's going to be like,
That's
holy
funny.
cow, how in the world did they beat the Giants?
I know, man. I played his prop one time and I nailed it because I was
Of
like, look, this
course.
thing is crazy. But the damn brotherly shove killed it this past year.
It did. It
You
did.
know? Anyway,
It did. I guess the experience has worn out its welcome. So yeah, just Kenneth Gainwell, who by the way is not secure, not guaranteed anything other than the fact that he's on the team right now, and I would imagine they'll see it out. But I'm saying his role not guaranteed. Is that he had a
no, he's
decent
on the
year?
roster no matter what. He's not. They love, you know how much
Yeah, he's on the roster. I just don't. We just never know what kind of
his
role.
role.
He's gonna
Yeah,
have. Yeah.
no idea. Because it okay, so before we get the receiver, I'll leave you with this. It depends on who they bring in. Do they bring in a power back? Well, that would hurt Gainwell in terms of closing games, in terms of short, because when he would grind some carries out,
Mm-hmm.
that would stop. You know, he's a good goal line back, but if they added back with size in the draft for free agency, that would end. Now, here's another one for you. Because now you have Kellen Moore and Sirianni's giving up. He's given up everything. It's not his scheme anymore. He'll have input, but he's given it up. So will Hurts finally start checking the ball down to a running back? Because that's been a big problem for him. And we're going to learn a lot about Jalen and how coachable he is in terms of one of the things that he would not do. And Wentz had the same problem. Refused to check the ball down.
Mm.
And when you make a signing, when you have a trade like this for Swift, who's dynamic and really a good trade. I mean, it worked out. They got what they thought, except for the pass game. It wasn't Swift's problem. It was the offensive coordinator's problem, the head coach's problem, and the quarterback's problem. You got to check the ball down. You got to design stuff. This is a problem. This cannot continue no matter if Gainwell's a passing down back again. But we had a running joke. We said last fall, it's not there's nothing illegal about getting the ball back in the passing game on first and second down. It doesn't have to be a passing down, folks. There's no law against it. I thought that was kind of funny.
That is funny.
Got to stop. You know, it's ridiculous. It can't happen anymore.
All right. Time to get into wide receiver.
Yep.
Before we do that, we know that whether your resolution is to save money, eat better, or stress less this year, HelloFresh is here to help you do all three. Say hello to your most delicious year yet with fresh ingredients and chef-crafted recipes at a price you're going to love, delivered right to your door. So you've resolved to actually sit down and eat dinner around the table. What do you do, though, about those nights when your schedule is jam-packed? That's when you turn to HelloFresh's lineup of quick and easy meals, including their 15-minute recipes. They're designed to help minimize mealtime stress. We love the sound of that. Every time we have a meal from HelloFresh, whether it's quick and easy or one of their standard types, we're just blown away by the freshness, the taste, the quality, and as always, by the selection. They make food for meat lovers, seafood lovers, vegetarians, people who love variety. So many great deals. And here's the next great deal. If you go to HelloFresh.com/EaglesFree and use the code EaglesFree, you'll get free breakfast for life. That's one breakfast item per box while your subscription is active. Free breakfast for life at HelloFresh.com/EaglesFree with code EaglesFree. It's one word, EaglesFree, all lowercase EaglesFree. Act now for America's #1 meal kit. All right, so wide receivers, Adam, this is different. They have plenty of guys who are under contract, different kind of strata here. Obviously, the big ones being Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown, but no Julio Jones. That was a 1-year deal. No Olamide Zaccheaus. That was also a 1-year deal. And Quez Watkins, he has now, when the new league year comes, his contract is expired, right?
Yep. So they only have 3 players under contract from last season. And only 2 of them are really receivers, A.J. Brown and Smith, Devontae Smith.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. I mean, honestly, the question would be for Britton Covey, who obviously is a tremendous punt returner. We saw a little bit late in the season where he played slot receiver. Will they finally give him a shot? Because you and I saw him in the OTAs of his rookie season, and his short area quickness was so good. And then they never used him as a receiver. I was kind of disappointed until late last season. So I don't know. I mean, they don't seem to be inclined to do that now. the reserve / future contracts. Let's see who they got. They got Joseph Ngata back, who's a tall possession guy. Doesn't run very well, but he is back. They do not. They signed him for 2 years. He signed through 25.
Mm-hmm.
So they
Had
don't.
a nice camp.
Yeah, he did. But just doesn't run well enough. They brought in Jacob Harris, formerly of the Rams. They gave him, here you go, 25 grand to sign.
Mm-hmm.
Who's played receiver and tight end before. He looked like he was going to be a fourth receiver for them. And then he tore his ACL and has never been the same. Now we'll see what happens. He's a guy you bring into OTAs. You see what he can do. Austin Watkins, I know some people are excited about him, formerly of the Browns, who definitely's got some ability. We've seen him in the preseason. It's a guy that I'm actually really looking forward to seeing. Who's been with the Niners and the Bucks and the Browns, who we saw in the preseason. So he's a guy that's got ability.
He was like the preseason MVP last year.
Yep.
He ripped it up.
That's why, 100%. Shaquan Davis and the kid Hebert, who was with them, Griffin Hebert, who was with them for a couple weeks in the regular season on the practice squad. So right now they have no depth at all. I mean, they literally have zero. The other guys are just, you bring them to, they're not a factor right now. So they have to add 3 to at least 2 veterans. They have to. They don't have a choice.
Yep.
So let's see what happens. But I'm excited about seeing Jacob Harris. When you and I go to OTAs, I want to see how healthy he is. He's a tall, lanky, because he's not a speedster, because he's so long. The Rams were deciding to make him an H-back. Would he be a tight end or receiver? Then he got hurt, as I said, and the kid Watkins. So, and of course, Ngata, who's back. So let's see who they bring in here. Do they re-sign Watkins? We'll look into that. I can't imagine that Julio Jones will be coming back. The question is, does he retire or not? He doesn't have much left.
Agreed.
But this is a Sirianni problem. I blame Sirianni for Zacchaeus. I'm not interested in hearing his excuses again. Oh, we know that the passing game only goes through the top 3 guys. Yeah, we know that. But you have an NFL third receiver. The guy's got to get the football. The guy's a good player. And I'm hoping Howie doesn't hold it against Zacchaeus. They didn't put anything up. It was a scheme issue. It was the inability to get guys open. That's the problem. So Zacchaeus, to me, they got to look at this. I think it's a mistake if they don't bring him back. I think he'd be fine as a third receiver.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you. It's a very top heavy position right now for the Eagles. Like you just said, they only have 3 guys who actually played in the NFL for them last year. Now it helps that 2 of those guys are 2 of the top 10 in the league, and maybe 2 of the top 5 as Devontae Smith continues to get better. So you're not necessarily worried about that as long as both of those guys are definitely coming back. What you're worried here well, not worried. Let me make two observations I have on Britton Covey, right? It's going to be a little bit of a forecast.
Okay.
I don't think he's going to be, I look forward to him competing in the slot. I think he's too small to be a 65% player in the slot. However, I think he's the perfect gadget play, like Ray McLeod type, like get the ball in his hands on a few orbit motion sweeps, little different things, because you just mentioned his inside hand. He's got really nice short area burst, lateral quickness. He's good with the ball in his hands. He's a good punt returner, very good punt returner. Excellent. So no reason why you can't actually implement that into your offense. And I would think that Kellen Moore, who specializes in motion shifting and maybe being a little bit more creative, can find a way to at least get Covey 5 to 6 touches a game in that variety.
Interesting. We'll look. Hey, listen, we'll look at OTAs. We'll see if they do it. He's.
I mean, it's very uncommon to see a guy of his size and stature be able to be a full-time slot receiver.
Under 180. Yeah, he's 5'8". I don't know what his exact weight is. I think he's under 180. So yeah, he's a smaller guy, but man, his quicks are. Yeah, everybody sees it. His ability to dart. He's kind of a darting type player. So we'll see what happens. But so that would be wide receiver, tight end. Again, they're very light. It's Goddard and Calcaterra. Jack Stoll is not under contract. He's a restricted free agent. Nothing official here, but my sense is they probably will not tender him. They want him back, but the tender for if they tender him, it's a decent amount of money. It would surprise me if they tendered him. I know the way they work. It would be a surprise if they tendered him, but they definitely want him back. It's just a matter of how they're going to do it. And Calcaterra. So right now, only under contract are Goddard and Calcaterra. That's it.
Wow. So this feels like a position that they will again, kind of like they did. Was it well? They had Dan Arnold, but they didn't draft the tight end last year. But they had Tyree Jackson, they had Calcaterra, and then there was somebody else they had in camp last year at tight end, right? Calcaterra,
Yeah.
Goddard, Tyree Jackson. I thought there was somebody else, Dan Arnold. Maybe that was it, but that was four. There was four guys to compete for 2 or 3 spots.
Oh, it was okay. Matt Russell's brother.
Yes, Brady Russell.
Right, who got traded.
Yeah. I think that this is a position that you'll look to see them dual hit, meaning they'll bring in a free agent, not like a big name. They'll probably just bolster up the position with somebody, and they might draft somebody. They got, what do they have, like 3 or 4 5th-round picks?
Yeah, I'm not sure, but bottom line is it's light. They're really light. Boy, as we do this inside the offensive roster, they're really light on depth.
Oh yeah.
And
yeah, definitely.
And I get it. Look, a lot of guys are in size, and some of these guys will be coming back. And look, free agency last month, but
right,
that's where that and the two reserve future guys, Noah Tungiai's back again. And I'm looking. I want to see if I have this. Did they give him any money? See if I have it. No,
the legend of Noah Tungiai.
I don't have that contract yet. But EJ Jenkins is kind of a young journeyman who they brought back on a 2-year deal. You gave him $20,000, by the way. $20,000. Not to sign. Boy, again, they really must like him. That's it.
All right. We'll go into offensive line again. Tight end definitely an area not very deep right now. And Calcaterra, didn't he miss some time last year?
Yes,
he had the concussion, right? I mean, honestly, because he's retired once from concussions, you just don't know. Like, suffers another one, he could just say, "Listen, that's it. I'm done." So, I mean, that's got to be in the back of the Eagles' minds. They really need to have depth and bodies ready at that position.
Yeah, he's a third tight end. Yeah, he definitely is not a 2. Right. Stoll's an excellent wide tight end in line. Yep. So, yeah, that's a good find for them. Good job of scouting. So they got to add someone there. Yeah, I'm totally agreeing with you there.
All right. Tackle. Let's start off with offensive tackle. This is a position that the Eagles sort of pride themselves on having depth, both young and veteran depth. They still have it, just, I would say, because Jack Driscoll enters free agency, right? He's done 4 years. You kind of feel like the Eagles will probably address this situation a little bit.
Well, they love Fred Johnson. I know that. We talked about this last summer. Like we said this like 3 weeks before the season started. Said he's making the team. That's one of our bold statements. Like, this Fred Johnson guy, formerly of the Bucks, and was it the Bucks and
Bengals?
Yeah, he's a guy that really developed. Stout likes him. He's making the roster. He could back up right or left tackle. But that's it. With, as you said, Driscoll's, he's out of contract, so it's Mailata and Johnson, obviously. Fred Johnson's the swing tackle. Reserve/futures are the Raven Clark back again and back again. I need to count this. Brett Toth, he won't go away. He's back.
It's amazing. Brett Toth is back. Stelton must love that guy for him to keep coming back like that. Now, what's the deal? Well, we're not on guard yet, so I won't go to that. I was going to ask you. I forgot.
He can play guard, by the way. Toth can play guard. He's played a little guard.
Now, you do wonder, do they view Tyler Steen as potential tackle depth?
You wonder. Okay, I saw him in training camp take snaps at left tackle. It's funny you should say that. So as we go through guard, it's Dickerson, Juergens, obviously, as a right guard or center. Steen as a guard or left tackle. And the only other guy is the kid Jason Poe, who signed a reserve/future deal. That's it, man. So again, they're really light.
Yeah. I really don't. I think if you shot them up with True Serum, they don't want Steen at tackle. I mean, he was already working at guard at the Senior Bowl.
Yeah.
Teams projected him at guard. He's a little short-armed, right?
Yeah, sure.
He's a good athlete, but I think they'd even rather have better athleticism at tackle. I think that they just felt he would be long-term guard. Kind of like with Driscoll, where they learned that he could only, they thought earlier in his career, they're like, yeah, he can be a guard and a tackle. And they tried it. And there were some games where it was like, all right, you got away with it. And then the more you played him, the more you realize you got to keep him at tackle.
He wasn't what we had said back then, that the word we got, he's just not strong enough. It's his anchor. It's a challenge. So he's a better right tackle. And we'll see. I mean, I don't know if Jack's going to find a starting job, and I know the Eagles like him, so I could certainly see him coming back. But I mean, and then it's, of course, at center.
Wait, before we get to center,
Sure.
right? We gotta talk about our next sponsors. Are good friends at the
Good.
Game Time app. They make finding tickets so much better than any other experience. I mean, it's really difficult to find good tickets online, but not when you have the Game Time app. It's the fast, easy way to buy tickets for sporting events, concerts, and theater shows near you. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets, and right now on the Game Time app, you're just 2 taps away from tickets to seeing any of the local teams, college, pro, any concert you want to see, any comedy act. There's so many good things to see as long as you've got the Game Time app. The best part is Game Time offers event cancellation protection and job loss protection. It's the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. The all-in prices show you the total upfront, and you get to see the view from your seat right there on the app. You know exactly what to expect at checkout. Game Time's obsessed with helping you save money. They got the zone deals that let you pick the section while Game Time picks the seat, so you get the best savings. And there's also the Game Time guarantee. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time credits you 110% of the difference. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code BIRDS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and use the redeem code BIRDS, BIRDS, for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, we're also going to pause now to hear a word from our great sponsors and friends at Sky Motor Cars.
Sky Motor Cars in Westchester is a different sort of dealership. All it takes is one look at their Highline pre-owned vehicles that people all over the country want and need. Owner Brett Schulter, make sure you don't spend a dime of your money before you purchase the car. Sky Motor Cars allows you to make all the decisions regarding your next vehicle. At Sky Motor Cars, you never have to spend more than necessary. Visit SkyMotorCars.com today or call 610-918-7225.
And if you hop into Sky Motor Cars out there in Westchester, PA, make sure you tell them Adam just sent you. You'll get a great deal.
Hey, I'm going to see our friend Brett Schulter this weekend. We're going to get a little pizza.
Oh, I thought you were going to tell me you're getting a new car. I was getting excited.
No. Well, he and I, that's actually part of why we're going to talk, is I'm looking into it. So I need his advice. He knows everything. He's my car guy. So we're going to go to Joey's in Thorndale for those.
Oh, nice.
It's his brother, the guy who owns Joey's, his brother is the guy from Pizza Westchester, for those of you who know Pizza Westchester, which has been blown up since a guy from Barstow put it on there. So anyway.
Yeah. Well, way to give them some unpaid plugs. Nice
Yeah,
job.
yeah,
That's fine. We love it. We
local
love
business,
love helping local businesses.
Yeah,
Anything we can do.
Yep.
All right, so let's get into the center situation. Jason Kelsey technically right now under contract. Lots to be. I wonder how long this thing. I mean, we still get the feeling that he's going to retire. You never know. We get that feeling.
Oh, yeah.
But do you think like he's gonna announce it? Like he can't. He likes to make this thing. He always likes to say, "I don't want to take too much time. I don't want to put the organization in a bind." And it's like, hey man, it's February 15th. There's like
16th now. Yeah, it's so a couple things. So we know that his agent was meeting with TV networks. It's just to handle this for Jason, but that doesn't mean he's retiring. It's if he does retire, this is taken care of. If he doesn't, they've already talked to networks, so that's ready to go when he decides to retire. Now, I saw a quote from Jordan Mailata basically saying he'd be shocked if he came back. Now, I didn't see all the quotes. That was like the headline. And it's funny, I actually I interviewed Jordan at the Super Bowl for our friends at Sports Grid, and we talked about it. We just talked about some of the veterans, BG, Lane, Stout, just being coached by Stout, and we talked about Kelsey. He got pretty emotional over it. He just, we're talking about a guy's going to be the Eagles Hall of Fame, Pro Football Hall of Fame someday, and being around greatness is whoever it is, and whatever business you work, when you learn from people who are older than you, it's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. So to move this forward, if Kelsey retires as we expect, there's not much. There's Juergens, who would obviously take his place. And I forgot this one guy I forgot about. Now, this guy was drafted. Lester Smith is a kid that the Cardinals drafted 3 years ago. who's a center, 6-rounder, who was cut. He was there with them for 1 year. Then they cut him. Then he was signed to Houston's practice squad. Then signed to the Eagles practice squad late last season, and he's with them with a reserve future contract. Hey, maybe they found someone here as a backup center. Let's just take a look at him. Again, they signed it to. They all the future contracts. All these guys signed 2-year deals. Some got some guaranteed money. Just about all of them, except that, unless it was like Okwara, I think, signed a 1-year deal.
Mm-hmm.
But the younger guys who were not vested signed 2-year deals, and we'll see. This one's a little interesting. I'm curious to see what he does.
Well, I mean, look at the depth we're talking about. Let's say Jason Kelce retires. Cam Jurgens is the center. You don't have Julian Good-Jones any longer, and not that he had any NFL experience either, but he was a guy who didn't he get signed because we had talked about how other teams liked his tape in the preseason.
Yep.
I think he got signed off the practice squad to what, the Giants?
No, to Washington. And
Washington,
yeah, and I think they actually. I'm going to double check my file here. I think we have him under contract with Washington for this season.
Okay.
Yes, he did. He signed a 2-year deal before the season ended on their 53, and so they didn't ever cut him. So he's still not. Yeah, so he will not be an Eagle.
Wow, that's interesting. So they really have no depth at center. And by the way, what is Sua Opeta's status at the moment?
Free agent, unrestricted.
He's an unrestricted free agent. So he can't even be tendered. He's literally out there for anybody. He's a guy I could see getting a decent, just a backup, payday. Because he has played well at times.
Well,
you can't
I've
play him
learned my
too much,
lesson.
but
Right, but here's the question. I couldn't believe it when Matt Pryor got $6 million from the Colts. I literally fell over. I was like, someone sent me the contract terms. I'm like, this has to be wrong. Matt Pryor, okay, I know he did, but he didn't play well here.
Right,
but he's still going. He was with the Niners this past season. I mean, that's free agency. The funny thing, man, you mentioned Sua Opeta. It only takes one team to say, "Oh God, we love this guy's tape." Okay, here's $3 million. You never know.
Right. Well, the Eagles like to go 8 or 9, sometimes 10 deep on the offensive line. But if you were to just look at them right now and say who's definitely part of that group in 2024, you'd say Mailata, you'd say Lane Johnson, you'd say Cam Jurgens, you'd say Landon Dickerson, you'd say Tyler Steen. That's 5, and you'd say Fred Johnson. That's 6. After that,
no one.
We're not getting to 7, 8 without mentioning a guy who should not be a 7, like a LaRaven Clark or a Jason Poe here. So this is the situation. This is why when Andrew DeCecco does a mock draft and has them taking Tyler Guyton in the first round tackle, and people are like, "Oh, you can't take another offensive lineman. You got no. The Eagles are going to be hitting offensive line in the draft. Don't you worry. I'm not saying it's definitely a first round pick, but it's probably going to be higher than you, the fan, might want, because that's what they do.
I mean, look at Howie's success. Okay. Jordan Mailata, obviously a home run. I mean, who knew? Who the hell knew? But hey, give Stout credit. Landon Dickerson. A lot of teams had a much lower grade on I know teams had 4 on him because of injuries. So far, knock on wood. It's been a great draft pick so far. Jurgens has promised. We'll see. Lane obviously is going to be a Hall of Famer. Kelsey's going to be a Hall of Famer. Big V, for goodness sake, got $10 million a year from Detroit. His contract's up, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Who knew? I mean, look, they're really good at drafting linemen. I mean, it gives Stout credit. They're not perfect. They missed on Dillard, no question.
Yep.
No excusing it. They missed it, but more often than not, they're really good at this.
Yep, no doubt about it. All right, so that just shows you the key word here on offense. Eagles have a very talented offense. Got a lot. They got Hall of Famers. They got Pro Bowlers, but they are thin in pretty much every single position. But that's why there's free agency in the draft. We'll see how that goes. And that is our review of the Eagles offensive roster. Of course, on Monday, we'll hit the defense and go over any news or nuggets that may happen over the weekend. Hope everybody has a great weekend. That's going to do it for this episode of Inside the Birds, the leading podcast in Eagles intel. And as always, we thank you for flying with us inside the Birds. Be sure to check out our friends at PHLSportsNation.com. They're enhancing the fans' experience with their coverage of all Philadelphia sports teams. For the fan, by the fan is their motto. So make sure you check them out at PHLSportsNation.com and on Twitter at PHLSportsNation.